Let's talk webinars. Okay, so welcome to this page. I'm going to walk you through real quick what to expect. Below this video, there are 2 epic masterclasses. Let me explain to you what you're about to get into. Now, I want to tell you right now, it's going to take you hours to get through the content below, but this might be, in my opinion, the most impactful content you see like for your business this year or the next like 2 years. So it's not just a big pitch. By the way, Jason and I are all transparent. So I'm going to tell you what we're selling you in this video, but it's not about that. The content in the videos, the content in the masterclasses below is epic. Most people right now are starting to fail at webinars. Why? So they'll say immediately, webinars are dead. Webinars are actually, believe it or not, in the mainstream world especially, just getting started. They're not even close to dead. The problem, though, is that the consumer mind has completely changed. Okay? And most people I see today deploying webinars are using a formula created 10, 15 years ago by those who probably aren't even very good at webinars. And that formula doesn't work. It actually repels people away from you. So pause. Jason and I, we're going to show you a very different way, a way that you're going to feel amazing about. Transparent, straight, and it works. It's what today's market likes. See, between Jason and I, we have easily done over 1,000 webinars. Now, Jason and I would say, are probably the 2 biggest experts on the webinar game in the industry, and we both carry very different expertise points. Jason is probably the best webinar creator, webinar converter, and sales psychology expert I've ever met. So he's going to show you how to create a killer webinar without having to be a suave salesperson or a great copywriter. As a matter of fact, those things get in your way, as I'm going to share with you in just a minute. I have spent over $20 million on paid traffic, driving traffic to my evergreen webinar funnels. So what happens is when Jason and my skill comes together, we're able to help you build a true webinar funnel that can give you freedom, that can run sales for you with paid traffic, cold traffic, fairly autonomously. Now, this training that's in this in the masterclasses below and in our Webinar Mastery Academy doesn't exist anywhere else. And anybody else that's promising to show you or teach you how to do webinars, they don't have the breadth of and the depth of experience and knowledge that Jason and I have, period. All right, so now let me give you a couple of key insights about why things have really shifted in the webinar game and what you're about to master and the big evolution we're about to bring into your business. The main thing is this. The main thing is this. What if I told you that all of those sales psychology tricks and those sales hacks that you've learned that are being taught 15, 20 years, they actually deter sales? The brilliance of your success in your webinar actually comes from all the things you do around the webinar. And actually what you say on the webinar doesn't matter nearly as much as it did before. This is a ray of hope. This should tell you that you don't have to write the best webinar. But we're going to show you the parts like the offer, right? The setup, the psychology before the webinar, right? The entire narrative. All of this drastically increases your chances of success and allows you to be more transparent, genuine, authentic on your webinar. Okay, so first and foremost, there's this absolute power behind preparing. So we're going to show you exactly how to create the best offer. Okay, right there, masterclass number 1 below, Jason dives into the exact formula to create an offer that's so damn good that even the worst webinar can sell it really well. That's actually the thing that Jason and I probably pride ourselves the most on. It's not really even our ability to write great webinars. It's the fact that we just know how to create killer offers now, and that makes everything else a lot easier. All right, number 2, funnels, webinars. Number 2, evergreen funnels. Most people I see that do the webinar game, here's exactly how it goes. They do their first webinar to their audience. They make a lot of money. Maybe they make 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand. I don't know. This is a hypothetical example. And they get excited about it. They're like, wow, that was a lot of money for just a couple hours live on an audience. So then they're like, let's do it again next week. And then that works pretty well too. And then they're like, let's do it again next week. Except 4 months later, they're dragging now. They're doing multiple webinars a week. They're doing them with their partners. They're doing it for their list. And it's exhausting. And it's a treadmill. You're always having to kill to eat. And I, early on in this game, was like, I don't do a webinar every day. So I went out and I figured out the evergreen game. I spent over $20 million on paid traffic and probably an additional $10 million on affiliates. But my goal was, I don't want to do these live. I want to be able to live my life. I want to be with my kids. I want to be able to sleep and take a vacation with my wife and travel. And I figured it out. I let my team run it. So the second thing you've got to understand is in this program, so Masterclass number 2 below. Masterclass number 1 is Jason teaching you exactly how to write a webinar, a killer one. Masterclass number 2 is me teaching you how to build the entire evergreen funnel. And then number 3, maybe the most important of them all. What if you could just use AI to do all of it? Jason actually gives away, that's right, for free in Masterclass 1, Jason gives away the prompts that he uses now. Literally, he uses these prompts. His clients pay him $150,000 plus to write webinars. He uses the prompts he reveals on the Masterclass 1 below to write those webinars. Watch, I told you, watch the Masterclass. It's not just a big pitch. It's really quality content. Masterclass number 2, I've been paid more than $300,000 to build a webinar funnel for someone. All right, I've had multiple clients pay me 6 figures. You want my prompts? That write my emails, that write the reg page, that write the whole sequence, that plan out the narrative, that do everything. Bam. Masterclass number 2. I give away a lot of that as well. Okay, so now, what's our goal? We want to teach you, train you, help you, guide you, and of course, eventually, we want you to be inside of Webinar Mastery Academy. So in full transparency, let me share with you what Webinar Mastery Academy is. Then go ahead and watch below and you can determine whether it's a good fit for you or not. Or maybe you're excited, you want all of our AI, you want all of our prompts, you want all of our time and training and all the depth, then go ahead right now, click a button. There's somewhere around this page and go ahead and join Webinar Mastery Academy. But even if you do, still watch the master classes below. They're that good, okay? So what's inside Webinar Mastery Academy? Jason and I have created the ultimate webinar marketing program. So Webinar Mastery Academy, okay? Now this is where we teach our complete systems together for the first time ever. Jason and I have never done this. First, you're gonna get Jason's complete webinar mastery blueprint, his exact training on webinar content and psychology that converts cold traffic to 1,000+ buyers. This includes his top hook formulas, how to transition from pain to gain, to build faith in your solution, and the process he uses to create paradigm shifts that boost conversions. You're also going to get access to his 33 AI webinar prompts and scripts, 23 webinar scripts that convert cold traffic to $1,000 buyers, 3 opening hook prompts to quickly gain viewer attention, and even 10 prompts to transition from the I'm just here for the content to I'm in. But the webinar training, it's just the beginning. I am also going to give you my complete system for launching and scaling evergreen webinar funnels. That includes my 4-pillar webinar traffic playbook. And if you've ever stuck along, and if you're ever stuck along the way, you can join my own CMO for our weekly momentum calls for ongoing support and funnel reviews. That's right, my CMO is now yours. But that's just the beginning. Because, well, we've loaded this offer with a ton of bonuses, the most I've ever done, including Jason's 30-second buyer x-ray prompt to extract hidden psychological drivers and build the ultimate avatar from any sales page, just from a sales page. Okay, he's also going to give you 52 different objection-smashing closes from his book of closes and his massive 400-slide hack, an archive of some of the most powerful slides he's ever used. You get all of that. From the funnel side, you're going to get my $20 million data-driven webinar funnel blueprint, the complete system behind my 8 figures in webinars. And listen, I optimized this with literally $20 million in ad spend of my money. I'm also going to share with you my top registration page templates, okay, that have registered over 100,000 webinar registrations from cold traffic where I've spent $10,000 plus a day. And I'm going to give you my entire playbook to how I've spent $10,000 a day on paid traffic. But registering them is just half the battle. So you're also going to get my attendance amplifier playbook, okay? I'm also going to give you my 90 days to 3x system and the Evergreen Profit Machine. All the pieces I've used to scale webinars to 1 million a month in the past with paid traffic. Look, there's a lot of bonuses. Click and go check, okay? Because Jason's also giving you his 16 best-selling webinars in a vault. Now, these webinars have done anywhere from 6 figures to 7 figures, okay? I'm also even going to give you a 31-point checklist that you can just use to help you create your webinars. I don't have time to go through all the bonuses. Go ahead and click. Here's the deal. If you hire Jason right now, you're going to pay him $150,000. I've charged as much as $300,000 to build an entire funnel. Now, I'm not saying that that's what this program's worth, but I'm just saying that's the closest you're going to get to the level of content that we've put out. And right now, today, I mean, this is going to be pennies on the dollar. So here's how confident I am that this is going to work for you, okay? We're giving you a complete 30-day money-back guarantee. Join the Webinar Master Academy. Try everything for a full month. If you don't love it, for any reason, we'll refund every penny. We don't even ask you why. Well, we'll ask why for our own research, but we don't try to save the sale. You literally don't have anything to lose here, but you have everything to gain. So here's what you need to do right now, okay? If you're ready to join the Webinar Master Academy, if you're game, I want you to click the button. And it's a one-time investment of $29.97, but there's also a really good payment plan. You pick whichever one's right for you, okay? But although at the same time, you might not be ready. And if that's the case, then I just want you to go ahead and watch the master classes below. Listen, for Jason and I, this is a service. We love webinars. We are trying to get this into the market. We want you to have webinars. We want you to use webinars. If you don't end up investing in this program, that's okay. At least make sure you watch the master classes below. I promise you, whether you buy or not, you're going to get a tremendous value, okay? But now you know what we're selling. So you know what the game is. We're fully transparent. So if you're at the point where you're like, Anik, Jason, I trust you guys. I want in. I want your AI. I want your systems. I want to build my webinar with you. Then click the button, go to that other page, pick the $29.97 option, pick the payment plan option, and join us inside of Webinar Mastery Academy. You're going to be so grateful that you did. And by the way, like I said, Jason and I have never added this many bonuses for an offer ever. I only went over like 5 or 6 of them. Click, go look. It just keeps going. Everything you need to create a powerful webinar, it's in this offer. All right, now maybe you're like, I don't know, Anik, I got to think about it. Maybe, maybe not. Great, watch the master classes. You're going to see in detail us talk about the offer and us teach you. Maybe at that point you're like, hey, you know what? This is right for me. I want to do it. Great, then you can join then. Or maybe you're like, nah, I don't want to join this, but let us still teach you how to create a killer webinar and let us give you our AI prompts so that you can use those to help you. All right? Scroll below right now. Come on. Watch the master classes or click the button. Either way, Jason and I are so excited that you've chosen to engage with us. Thank you so much. You're going to love what's coming up. Tell your friends, tell everyone else, grab the link on this page. I don't care. Send it to people. All right? We just want this information in as many hands as possible. So, promise you, you'll love it. Go ahead. Next step is either join Webinar Mastery Academy or scroll below and watch Jason's masterclass, which is number 1, and then watch mine, which I broke into pieces for you just to organize it, but all collectively as one masterclass. So we have 2 masterclasses. Ready? The time is yours. I can only get you here, but you have to watch the content. And as I always say, when life pushes you, stand straight, smile, and push it the heck back. This is Anik. See you soon. Bye. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Webinar Mastery class. This is going to be freaking awesome. I am so excited because I've seen this before. I've experienced this before. I've been doing webinars personally, everyone, for, gosh, I don't know, 10, 15 years at this point. And of all of the types of marketing out there and all of the types and ways that we could have done marketing, this has had the deepest, the biggest impact on my business. Personally, have driven probably close to 1 million webinar registrations. I've personally done well over $55 million in sales through evergreen webinars from paid traffic. Personally, spent over $20 million on paid traffic, driving mostly to webinars, and have learned a tremendous amount about them, but never can stop learning. And I will tell you that in this industry, from the day one that I've been doing webinars, and just if anyone wants to know my time span in the industry, it's 25 years. It's crazy. I've literally been doing this stuff for 25 years. I can't believe I say that. And in that time, there has only been one person, can you imagine, of all the hundreds of marketers that I have a chance to be around, that I meet, that I'm friends with, that I can text message right now, only one have I ever called and said, hey, can you look at my webinar? Can we talk about this a little bit? A, because probably I have an ego, and I was like, I already am really good at webinars, so screw that. But no, seriously, mostly because no one's game for webinars was matching mine, except the man that I'm about to introduce to you here. We've been friends for a long time. We've supported one another for a long time. We've competed with one another for a long time. We continue to compete all the time. But in that time, we had never been able to come together and do what we're doing now. And I'm going to tell you that the more and more we continue to work together, the more content we're putting together, putting out, the more that we are supporting one another, the more I'm realizing, holy crap, what we're building is a true unfair advantage for anyone who participates in what we're building. It's decades of knowledge, millions of dollars of knowledge crammed into a very short time. It's a cheat code. It really is. You know, when you play video games as kids, right? You get stuck on a level, you'd go buy that manual that had the cheat code just to beat that big boss and just smooth past it. That's what this is. That's what tonight is. That's what the training is about. We will be meeting again tomorrow. Tomorrow will be when I run the webinar that is on everything that happens after you have a killer webinar. Because by the end of tonight, you will be empowered to have a killer webinar. Everyone, doesn't matter regardless of your experience, how long you've been doing it, not been doing it, what niche you're in. You know, I was talking today, I don't know if you know this, Jason, I was talking to Will earlier, and he was giving me the most obscure industries and niches in which now you're getting people messaging you, trumpet players who are teaching others to play the trumpet, just the most obscure spaces in which webinars are now being used. The other thing that was fascinating to me is I know we live in our own little bubble where webinars have been around for 10, 15 years, but when it comes to the mainstream world, it's just beginning. So like, you're not only not too late, you're at the perfect time to have a webinar. So how many of you here are committed to and want a fully optimized Jason Fladlian level webinar for your business and feel that that would make a deep impact on your business? Give me a yes in the chat. Let's get excited. Let's get energetic. Let's bring the energy to the room. Give me a yes in the chat. Look at the yeses pouring in. I love that. All right. That's what today is going to be about. So today and tomorrow. Now, having said that, this presentation is going to give you a true unfair advantage, because not only are you going to learn how to craft and create a great webinar, but you're actually going to see and receive the prompts that can be used to shortcut the heck out of that process. And I can't even believe that I'm living in a day where this is possible, right? And so there is no excuse for anyone to not have a webinar. Now, let's get another big question out of the way. I believe in full transparency. Are we going to sell you something at the end? What do you guys think? Jason and Anik are on a webinar. Are we going to sell you something at the end? Yes. Okay. Here's how this is going to work. We never, ever, 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 ever sell anything without first providing a tremendous amount of value. This, whatever we have for you at the end, it's not for everybody, but for those of you who it is for, you'll know. Okay? We will provide value. We do not use some kind of psychological manipulative webinar. We just give you, you'll see. We're going to give you some of our best stuff. And then for those of you who feel like you want to go to that next level and you want to get our help on working on all of this, we'll make an offer. But before we even make the offer, we're going to let you know we're about to make an offer. So does that sound fair? Can I get a fair? Can I get a fair if that transparency is appreciated? Just give me a fair in the chat if the transparency is appreciated, because that's how we are always at this point. And I promise you that the webinar you're about to watch right now, the value you will get in the next 60 to 90 minutes is going to trump anything you've ever seen on other webinars. And I say that because I've seen it before. So without further ado, everyone, help me welcome to our proverbial virtual stage, the one and only, the GOAT of webinars, Mr. Jason Fladlian, everyone. Give me Jason in the chat. Come on, everybody. Blow up the chat. Blow up the chat. Give me Jason in the chat. Blow it up. There we go. Oh, and by the way, we will be turning the chat to host and panelists only. There's literally hundreds upon hundreds of people on here. It gets super distracting. So once we get, oh my God, look at that. Jason. All right, Jason, man, I'm excited. I can't wait to see this. I learn every single time, my friend. So take it away.
I am happy to be here. I know we had 3,700 registered and about 6 million AI bots also registered, I'm assuming, that are also going to show up to this. So we might have more people here today than are on the planet. No, I tease, but we have about 4,000 people that are going to be tuning in and showing up, which is smart. To start off this webinar here today, I'm going to give you the greatest money-making secret that I have ever learned. Would you like to know what it is? And go ahead and put it in the chat. I can see you even if you can't see each other. So would you like to know what the greatest money-making secret in the world is? And I know the answer to that is yes. What you may not know is that it is comprised of two parts. The first part of the greatest secret I've ever learned has to do with needs. And see, every one of us on this call here today, we have a choice. We can either focus on our own needs or we can focus on the needs of others. And what I discovered is that early on in my career is that if I focus more on the needs of others, then guess what? The more I could satisfy my own needs. So if I can solve your problems, then I become less aware of my problems. And if I can serve you, then that will serve me. And that's the first part of the greatest money-making secret that I know. Now, here's the second part. It's called time. Tick, 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 tick. I put this principle of service in my heart to work for the last 18 years. I did it with a headache. I did it when I didn't want to. I did it when it was hard. I did it when it was easy. I did it when it was raining outside. I did it when it was shining outside. I did it in the US. I did it in Dubai. I did it all over Europe. I did it when I was alone and when I was sad. I did it in love. I did it before it was cool. I did it while it was cool. Then I did it when it became uncool again. See, I fell in and out of style twice with it, and I still do it. 18 years later, I'm still doing it. I'm still on the front line. I'm still working at it. I'm still getting better. And at the heart of it, there's these three things that I would love for you to write down: the offer, the audience, the webinar. That's it. We'll get back to this here shortly. Now, on today's webinar, there's two hopes that I have. The first hope is that you can take all this free, amazing stuff that I'm going to give you. You can implement it in your beautiful business. You can create massive results with it and just freaking enhance your life in all sorts of wondrous ways. Hey, and if that's all that happens today, then guess what? Me equal happy. I'll be incredibly happy for you. My chief focus here today is to have the biggest impact that I can on your business, regardless of whether you decide to do business with me afterwards or not. See, your winning is how I win the most. But that little second hope of mine is this: if it makes sense for you to invest in the offer that Anik and I are going to make at the end, then you snatch it up quick, fast, and in a hurry. Because if you're the right person, it's going to cost you more not to own what we're offering than the investment you'll make in order to get it. Now, whether you're brand new and building your knowledge base right now as you build your business, or you're a seasoned pro doing 6, 7, 8, even 9-figure businesses, there's going to be something of intense and immediate value to you, independent of whether you buy from us or not. See, the whole purpose of this webinar is to see how far I can push the limits of value and the limits of awesomeness without screwing up the sales pitch that I'm going to do at the end of the webinar. That's what we're going to do here today. Now, unfortunately, sadly, a lot of webinars out there that ain't Jay Flad webinars, they still working off that old 2010, 2012 model. And that model is called this: useful but incomplete. The normal attitude of most webinar people is don't give the audience anything that they can actually implement, God forbid. Instead, here's what you should do. You should rip open the wound, pour salt in it, and then sell the cure. And they think that this is profound and genius and useful. We're not going to do that on a webinar here today. That is unbelievably stupid. I don't want you to ever do that with your webinars either. What I want you to do is find ways where people can recognize that you're the real deal for whatever it is you do, and then say, wow, if I want a solution that I could pay money for, I want to give it to that person. That's what I want you to do with the webinars, and I will model this for you today, and I will share this with you today. We're going to push the envelope of what's possible while empowering you along the way, so buckle up. This is going to get interesting. Now, before we go any further, I just want to get clear on where these secrets that I'm sharing you today, where they come from. because you may not know who I am yet, and you may not understand the incredible difficulties that I had to go through to uncover the secrets that I'm going to hand over to you on a silver platter. My name is Jason Fladlin. Nice to meet you. And when it comes to webinars, I'm kind of a big deal, okay? Earlier this year in 2025, we set a record on a platform called WAP that processes over $1.1 billion in yearly sales. And we broke the 30-day record in sales, and we did it in 48 minutes and 19 seconds. You can see I partnered up with a guy named Iman Gadazi on the right, you can see there, and we went to his audience. We sold 8 figures of that product in the first 48 hours and 19 minutes, and it was only a $1,500 price point to an audience who was only on average age 24 years old. Mind blowing to get that kind of results from these kind of techniques I'm going to break down with you here today. Now, there's 2 things about what I just shared with you when it comes to this particular result that I was able to accomplish is I used a series of webinars, and until recently, this would be impossible to have 5 webinars running 5 days in a row. This would have been insane. I wouldn't even, if you could get paid $1 billion, I wouldn't recommend you do it because it would be insane to work that hard. However, I was able to accomplish this due to a secret weapon that I'm going to share with you shortly. Spoiler alert here. I wrote most of the webinar on a plane. Interesting, huh? So this brand new 8-figure record shows that webinars are working better than ever in 2025 with a catch. You got to follow the approach that I'm going to show you here today, okay? Now, here's the second thing that this shows you. It shows you don't have to sell incredibly expensive products. You don't have to have highly sophisticated audiences that are already rich and successful to be successful with webinars. Webinars work in any situation where you can reach masses of people who have pressing problems and are willing to invest money to solve those problems. And this is just one of the many results over the years that I've got with webinars. A few years back, did a launch in the financial space, partnered and published someone. They came to us with an idea, and 226 days later, we sold $57 million in billables on that product, applying the principles, strategies, and techniques that I'm going to share with you today. I've done millions and millions of dollars with various different webinars over the years, written dozens of webinars that have cleared 7 figures, and even to this day, over a decade later, still hold the record for the biggest affiliate promotion of all time, where I use webinars to sell other people's products to the tune of $9.8 million in 8 days. And if you saw Alex Hormozi's recent launch where he did $105 million in sales over 3 days, he used what? 3 webinars. And this is just a small example of the hundreds of people that were texting me saying, Fladlin, did you write that webinar? Fladlin, did you write that webinar? Because I have consulted with Alex in the past. He is a customer of mine, did a little bit of consulting on that current launch of his. I did not write the webinar, but he knows who to model and follow when it comes to creating the structure for effective webinars. So my point is this: I have more experience and more results in webinars than anybody out there, and therefore I have more insights to give you here today than you can get anywhere else. And I don't want you to get the impression, though, as I shared that with you, that for any single second that you can get results like I've gotten. Let's be very clear about that. Because a lot of the results that I've gotten, nobody else in the history of internet has actually gotten. Those are my results. Those are not your results. I've been doing this for 18 years. I get it. I look like I'm just a day over 25 maybe, right? But I was actually born in 1983. And this is my single focus ever since on webinars. And also, I'm a father with 3 kids and a happily married man who has a life outside of business. So I just really focus only on webinars. And I partner with smart people like Anik who can help me with the rest of this stuff. And a big key to my success is I've invested every year of webinars into the next to get better and better with a single monomaniacal focus on improvement. And my main focus here today for you is to give you the techniques. I'm going to flat out just give them to you. How's that sound? Let me just show you them all. So you can do them. You can use them however you want to. And I don't know what'll happen, but I would love to find out, okay? And if those techniques can help you get your first win, fantastic. And if that win is small, fantastic. And if that win is tremendous, then fantastic. I'm happy for you. See, the size of the win's going to depend a lot on your own circumstances if you can get a win even, right? I can't even know if you'll get a win or not. But the technique is the technique. And if you're using second rate or third rate or fourth rate technique on your webinars, that ain't going to make me happy. So let me just give you the very best techniques, regardless of where you're at on your journey. My hope is that the merit of what I teach you today will be self evident, stand alone, that you could put it to the test, get whatever results make sense for your circumstances, your situation, your desire, your drives, your goals. Does that sound good to you? Let me know in the chat. I'm just being straight with you here. Now, let's talk about the secrets of the most successful webinars. There's 3 areas at play here. There's the offer, there's the audience, and then there's the webinar itself. Quick test for you. Great offer to a right audience, but with a weak webinar. Does it do well or does it do poor? And put the answer in the chat. A great offer to the right audience with a weak offer, will it do well or will it do poor? And the answer is it will do well. So even if you have a meh webinar, but you have a killer offer to a hot audience, then you can absolutely crush it. Now let's flip the script. Let's say you have the world's best webinar, but the offer's weak and the audience is off. Then you do poor and then you stay poor. So here's the thing about offers and audiences. They go hand in hand. When you make the offer, you have to make it with the attitude of who is the audience I'm making the offer to, because different offers have different appeals to different audiences. So what we need to do before we do anything, the first thing we need to do is understand our audience. We need to know our audience. And then from that, we can craft the most compelling offer possible. And then once we lock down that part, we know our audience, we craft the best webinar, then we can put it together in a very straightforward, very easy to follow webinar framework. This is my favorite one that I'm going to break down for you today on this webinar. And that's the secret sauce. If you get the audience and the offer right, then you worry about perfecting your webinar, not the other way around. Everybody wants to focus on the webinar first, but we want to nail our audience first so we can create our offer, and then we will make the webinar. Does that make sense? That's why I suggest the first thing you do is start with what I call a buyer profile. Would you like to see the one that I use? Here's what it looks like. A buyer profile is the problems, the fears, the biases, the desires, the blames, and the objection that help or hurt your target audience, the audience that you would like to serve. And so when we create a buyer profile, we want to be able to know all of these things. We want to have an idea of their top 5 fears, their top 5 desires, blames, and objections, plus the emotions, the most powerful emotions they experience around them and what they experience on a day-to-day basis, and how those things, those fears, desires, and emotions affect their key relationships. So few marketers I know have a clear buyer profile, and no wonder why so few marketers are out there doing well with webinars or doing as well as they could be. So let me show you what one looks like. Because, hey, if you don't have a target to hit, it's hard to get a bullseye. So here's an example of what a good buyer profile looks like. And let's pick a yoga kind of self-compassion challenge space. Let's just say we're going to go after an audience that's really into self-compassion and yoga, and we're going to make an offer for them to run through a challenge. I'm going to show you what this looks like, and then I'm going to show you how I'm using AI to make these buyer profiles easy peasy lemon squeezy. So the first thing you want to do with a buyer profile for any market that you want to offer anything to is to start with a brief description. Things such as, well, let me just show you right here, right? So you can give a name, give an age, and then a brief description like this one. You know, Sarah is a high-achieving professional woman, likely in a demanding career. She lives in a constant state of overwhelm. She pushes herself to meet impossible standards, neglects her own well-being. Despite external successes, she battles a relentless inner critic, et cetera, et cetera. So this gives you a good idea. This is like your North Star. Like, this is who we're trying to help, and this is what they're going through. So we have to understand them before we can help them. So this is what the description looks like. Next, what we want to do is we want to put the major problem that they're facing into a few paragraphs. So it could look like this. She's trapped in a vicious cycle of self criticism and burnout, believes being harsh on herself is the only path to success. This constant inner pressure has created physical tension, emotional exhaustion, deep disconnection from her body signals, and so on. So now you really get to see, oh, this is who we're going to provide a solution for, and this is what they need a solution from. This is their core problem. And then we dimensionalize this. We add the powerful emotions around her problems, such as exhaustion, frustration, disconnection, overwhelm, yearning, and we give it a paragraph or two or a sentence or two of what that means and how that shows up. Then we focus on the fears because people are most motivated to move away from their fears than they are to move towards their pleasures. So we come up with what we think are 5 of the biggest fears, and then we add depth to those fears by connecting those to the relationships, relationship to self, family, work, body, friends, like this. And then after this, we identify things that they've tried in the past that they haven't worked out well. And it's important that you do this so you can position your offer as the alternative to things that haven't worked in the past and why you're different. You have to be aware of what the audience will refuse to do, so you can make sure not to create an offer that asks them to do things that they will never do. So be aware of the top 5 things that they do not want to do when you're creating your offer. And then focus on the wish and dreams that they have as an outcome, like in this case, feeling calm and centered without sacrificing productivity or success, having a simple daily practice that fits into their busy schedule, and so on and so forth. So now you know what you can solve for when you create an offer, and add some emotionality around this with how it impacts and connects to relationships. And now we have both the DNA of how our solution helps if they own it, and how it hurts if they don't have it. And then you can also define the criteria of their success, what their success hinges on, like this, and what they must give up, that they're willing to give up in order to go after the success, like I did here. And then you come up with who or what they blame for their problems so you don't resemble them and you can position yourself against them. And then the biggest specific objections that would stop them from saying yes to your offer. And it looks like this. And you say, no wonder people who do this do well, Jason, because look at everything that we've covered, right? And I get it. This is really important. This is something everybody should do, as they should also floss twice a day and eat at least 5 servings of vegetables. Yet 9 out of 10, or maybe 99 out of 100 marketers haven't done this because it's hard. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. There seems to be a lot of guesswork involved. And it's tough until you design the right AI prompt. Would you like to see how to design a specific AI prompt to create a buyer profile like the one I just showed you in seconds? So now you know your audience. So when you craft that offer and make that webinar, you've already started with the sharpest axe possible that you could use to chop down the money tree, okay? Here's what it looks like. It starts with a prompt. Now, all the prompts that you create should be first defined by context. So the context in this case is create a buyer profile. Even better, the more specific you are, the better results you'll get. So I say create a buyer profile specifically for webinars that we will use in webinars. Now there's a little extra special magic to this prompt right here. We have it extract our details from competitors' sales letters, because all the successful competitors have already done parts of the different research out there, and we can just stitch them together. Now, after you create the context, then you define the role for the AI. In this case, the role is you're a consumer psychology expert in things like NLP, neuro-linguistic program, emotional intelligence mapping, and conversion psychology. So now it knows what role it can play. And then after that, give it the actions it must take. This is where you really want to be thorough and you want to be complete, like the relationship impact assessment, the failed solution mining, the resistance identification. Next part of the prompt is give it the format that you would like it to be returned in. I showed you the format earlier that I like, so I tell it, give me it in this format. And then here's what's really important too. Who's the target audience? In this case, it's marketers who need a webinar developed. So create this buyer profile to be most useful for marketers, AKA you, who are doing webinars, AKA you. And then the last part of it is you just say, paste your sales letter in here. And then you find a competitor sales letter, you copy and paste it to your end of the prompt. So the process for instant buyer profiles is this: a prompt like you see on your left, like the one I just gave you, plus a competitor's long form sales letter. And I am not kidding you, in less than a minute, I've mapped out the absolute best buyer profile you could ever hope to do, unless you spent a decade or more of studying this science and then manually applying it. So we're going to use this to create our killer offer, which we will then put into our killer webinar framework. Now let's talk about webinars. Let's talk about offers. I like to think of them in terms of a chef with ingredients. So the chef is you as the webinar presenter. These are your skills, how well you can train, how well you can sell, how well you can communicate, and so forth. That's you, the chef. And then there's the ingredients that you put into the presentation, which is essentially the offer and all of its parts, the pricing, the bonus, the scarcity, so on and so forth. A question to you: what do you think matters more? Is it the chef or the ingredients? Well, I'll tell you, it's 100% absolutely the ingredients. If you have really compelling ingredients, meaning parts of your offer, then you don't have to be a masterful webinar presenter. Like, let me ask you this. If you could sell a $100 bill for $10, do you think you'd have to be really good in order to sell that? I don't think so. I think when you have a really killer offer, it takes less and less pressure off of you to be a really good presenter. This is why the ingredients are more important than the presenter itself. And here are the ingredients that can cook up a killer offer. Now, this took me countless hours to figure out what are the first principles, what are the only things needed, and nothing more needed in order to create the most compelling offer possible. So it's the core portion of the offer, the price, the bonuses, the risk, and the scarcity. And our friend Alex Ramosi here says the following. So just to give you an idea that I know a thing or two about offers, he says, I just stumbled upon your webinar course. It's the single best course on offer creation in persuasion. And this guy holds the Guinness Book of World Records using a webinar to sell more books than any president or any prince or any celebrity or any figure in history. Feel me on this one? So when I talk about offers, henceforth where I speak. And when it comes to writing the webinar, we start with the offer. And here's what's cool. Here's something you can now do you could never do before in the history of webinars. You can now, with AI, for the first time ever, start writing your webinar and creating offers at the exact same time. Would you like to see it? How do we write the script for the webinar offer and create the webinar offer at the exact same time? Well, it looks like this. The first part of a killer offer is its core components. And now here's something super slick that I discovered about webinars, making offers on webinars. And it's you want people to think that they know your whole entire offer when they only know just the most basic part of it. There's a psychological principle, and I'll show it to you at play here. When people think I buy this, and then you say, oh, you also get this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this. So we create an AI prompt that does just this. Would you like to see it? It's one out there that no one else can create because no one understands the psychology better than me. And AI in itself is not sufficient because AI doesn't understand this. Let me just show you what it looks like, okay? So like all prompts, we start with the role in the context for this. Now, in this case, I sprinkled in a little magic dust here. So I said, your job is to help me build the core offer section of my webinar, the part where I reveal what most people think they're buying before we mention bonuses or price. So AI will never know to do that. No other prompt out there that you create could do that. You have to know the secret sauce, just like I did here. Next, we use proprietary frameworks. This is my proprietary framework that we embed inside the prompt that I've tested for years and years and years. And I say, just follow this framework. What's really cool about this framework is it can even come up with the name of different parts of your offer. So different components of your core offer, it will come up with really cool killer names. If you don't have them, it will suggest them right on the spot because a name is really important when you come up with an offer. So that's already baked in there. Now, here's what's really cool. And I've taught this to the world leaders about making offers. And it's this. I say, barely show anything up front before you ask for the order. And then I also tell the prompt, give me specific responses to choose from. because they will often come up with better examples than what I could come up with my own. It's always nice having options, isn't it? And so your core offer, it will spit out for you exactly these few key components that you can use to sell its value. You can use that structure for it, right? You just use this prompt. You say, hey, use my proprietary knowledge for each part of the offer. Give it options. Give me 3 to 5 different framing styles for this part of my core offer. This sets up demand. Use the best value formula. Tell the AI, use the best value formula that Jason Flavin has ever figured out to communicate this part of my offer. And give it a super powerful technique to lock in the value. So it's not enough just to show the value when you're making an offer. You have to lock it in so your audience can feel the value and then they can never forgive it. And then allow it to guide you step by step. So a big part of using really effective AI prompts is not having it tell you something, it's having extract from you something, having to unlock something inside you. So you can't just rely on AI to give you the answer, but you can rely on AI the way that I programmed it to uncover the answer for you by asking a series of questions that took me hours and hours and hours to figure out. So this is all fine and dandy, right? This is pretty cool. Let me show you what it actually looks like. So this is the output of the exact prompt that I just showed you. And it goes like this. It starts with a classic Fladlin line. It says, it's with great pleasure I introduce to you conversion code. I did not come up with that name. The AI came up with the name. And then it goes on. Before I tell you what it is, I want to share something personal. 3 years ago, my business was in serious trouble. I had a great product, something I truly believed could help people, but my website was converting at a miserable 0.8%. For every 1,000 visitors, only 8 people bought. So this sets the stakes for the offer. And then it goes on. I was bleeding money on ads, $22,000 down the drain, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, it will input your specific examples that you give it from your specific experience. But this is an example now of how we set the stage and how we build it and how we create the drama. And then it goes at the end. Here's what you get when you sign up for the conversion code today. And then it breaks down each one of these key core deliverables. And you can do this in minutes, if not seconds. And what used to terrorize everyone who started to pitch on their webinar, they're like, how do I introduce the offer? How do I show the first component of the offer, of what they get? All that stuff that used to stress out marketers and have them losing their hair and staying up at night, now it's super duper easy, copy and pastable, with a prompt that will give you 5 examples at each step of the process. Here's 5 ways you can introduce the offer. Here's 5 names for the offer. Here's 5 different frames that get people to understand the value of it, and so on and so forth. Now it's easy. Now it's effective. And now we've done the first part of making a really good offer. Now it's time for the second part. You ready for this? Price. So a Fladlin webinar is very different than everybody else's webinar. Therefore, why it gets better results than everybody else's webinar is we put the price very early when we make the offer. So we spend maybe 3 to 5 minutes, and the AI writes that whole script for us, introducing the product, and then we immediately go to price. Now, the thing about price will always feel high until you position it correctly. Once you position it correctly, then it will feel like a bargain. Now, here's the thing about price, and this took me a long time to figure out. How consumers judge price is completely illogical. So you can't use logic to position price. You have to use something else. So I always use this exact same formula on every webinar that I create, and now you can use the same formula by just using this very simple AI prompt. We call it the price prompt. Now we start with context. We want to frame the offer so that way somebody feels like they're stealing it from us, like they're practically robbing us when they buy it. And that's where we start. We start with the context to create that frame. We give it a script. Here's the perfect script, by the way, to make people feel like they're giving an unbelievably good deal. It uses universal price anchoring. It's a technique that I've really optimized over the years, and all it does is take some very simple questions it asks you and just fills in the script for you. And then we also allow it to be flexible. So depending on your price and depending upon some of the things you give it, it doesn't follow the script to a T. It makes it sound natural and conversational. And it makes it feel good when you talk it out loud, because that's all of that is programmed inside of the script itself, as you can see here on the screen. If you have any success stories that can frame it any further, you can put it in there. So it allows for customization at a personal level, or you can use generic stand-ins, which also work really good. Anybody who put the effort in to figure this out, like I had, would easily say it's worth X, which is a price anchor, right? Finally, you provide references from your market so the AI can create comparison with similar programs in your industry out there that are much more expensive and are half as good as what you can offer. And that's what the pricing script looks like. Here's an example output of that exact same AI prompt that I just showed you. Here's what it looks like. Here's what we're producing in seconds or minutes at most when we introduce the price on our webinars. It looks like this. So how valuable is all of this? This is how I always set it up, by the way. That's flattening line for you. Well, for me, it's allowed me to shortcut years of painful trial and error, which makes it worth at least $50,000 because I didn't have to waste time, money, or energy to figure this out the hard way. For folks I've helped, many have told me it was worth at least $25,000 because they finally had a clear roadmap that they could trust. The industry average for a program like this is between $2,000 and $3,000, and they didn't even include all these special bonuses, which I'll reveal shortly. On my website, you can see the normal investment for this is $19.97. Yet if you act fast enough before this offer expires, you can get started for as little as $249, then 3 more installments of the same, spaced 30 days apart. Or if you prefer, you can take care of it all at once for just $9.97 when you go to insert CTA URL now. So you just plug that URL in, boom, you're done. It's as easy as that. And this has taken me years and years of perfectly articulating it, presenting it as efficiently and effectively as possible, all whittled down to a single basic AI prompt that you can now get the same output as me in minutes, right? Question, how easy will it be now for you to most effectively position your price? And by the way, if you don't know your price, the AI can help you dial that in as well. And now we're 2/5 of the way done with creating a killer offer. We've shown the core part of what it is. We've linked the price to that. We did our first call to action very early on, which is a super big secret in and of itself. But the AI doesn't know that. But Fladlin giving you AI prompts that Fladlin has embedded that kind of knowledge in now knows that. And now here's the next part, the most powerful part of the offer, which is putting in your bonuses. The value of the bonus section is this. It's how you create the most value the most easiest way to increase your conversion is to use the bonus section. And it crushes all the resistance that stops your best customers from buying. This is the importance of having a good, solid bonus section. So this is how we do it with an AI prompt. This prompt I'm showing you here is going to guide you step by step through the process of designing an emotionally compelling, proof-rich, modality-stacked bonus. All of that's super important, okay? So I use this for every single bonus that I'm going to add to my offer. And by the way, if I'm not sure which bonuses to add to my offer, I also use this prompt, and it gives me suggestions of the best bonuses to add to my offer, okay? So I use this for each bonus, and it will start giving me, hey, what's the type of bonus that you would like to create right now? Or what is the bonus that you're going to be putting into your webinar? So that's how it gives you the flexibility, right? Now, it helps guide you through the best bonuses by giving you suggestions. So if you say, hey, I'm going to make this script a bonus, it will then give you specific insights on how to do bonus positioning just for scripts. If you have instead group coaching as a bonus, it will then follow up with questions to help you best position group coaching as a bonus. So whatever bonus type it is, it will then tailor suggestions based upon that type, which is insane, okay? It also then takes the bonus and makes it desirable, makes people want to own it, makes it feel exclusive, makes it feel hard to otherwise get, but can be gotten for free here. And then we create a price anchor with it. So when they think of how valuable is it, a number appears in their head. And oftentimes these numbers are bigger than the investment for the product itself. And then we tie up the value. So again, people remember the first thing they hear and the last thing they hear about a bonus, or really anything that you share with them. So we lead with excitement and we end with value in a way that's memorable. So they say, oh my God, I want this. And then we put urgency into it. All of this built into the prompt itself. And then we connect it to the best persuasion formula that I've ever come up with, which is called setup, payoff, tie down. You don't even know how that has to work because the AI prompt just does it for you. And now we set up the bonus just like this. Super easy, super effective. And then they put it all into a script, just like you see here. Locks in the value. Crazy. Crazy. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. And then it asks you, how do you want to present the bonus? Do you want it to be teased early and revealed later? Do you want it to be shown last as a surprise or a stack closer? Do you want to foreshadow it? Et cetera, et cetera. This is advanced stuff. You could skip this if you want to, but that's also built into the prompt as well. And then it gives you how to present it in the perfect manner, in a way that you can read, that's super simple, super clear, super effective. Here's an example of using this exact prompt for a bonus that it suggested to me. So it goes like this: bonus, conversion sniper. You know what the top marketers never do? Guess. They don't just hope their headline works. They deploy frameworks, test patterns, and refine until every single word demands attention. That's the edge they have. And now you get it too. This is Conversion Sniper, a private browser plugin we developed and use across our internal campaigns to generate over 100,000 leads. Here's how it works. And then it breaks down exactly how it works and why it's valuable. This is the tie down, by the way. We spent over $10,000 developing this internally, so handing it to you is kind of insane, but we want you to win fast. Do you see how good that language is, by the way? And we're producing the script for each bonus, even bonuses we don't know that they're giving us as ideas that we could easily create later in seconds. Oh my God. Now, I've made bonuses so good, people bought the same $5,000 product twice just to get the bonuses. That's how powerful these techniques can be that I've created, that we now have wrapped up into AI that you can use with every bonus that you would like to add to your offer. So now we can move on to the fourth part of a really killer offer, which is the risk section. And the value of the risk section, by the way, is most customers, they really only buy when they run out of reasons not to say no. Okay. So sorry, let me say it again. Most customers only buy when they run out of excuses to not buy. And the number one excuse that stops people from buying is the risk that they perceive. And there's a lot of ways you can do this. And I'll talk a little bit more about some later. But one of the most effective ways to do this is by utilizing guarantees. So I created a prompt that will allow you to script one of the most powerful guarantees you can, really in seconds. And it's one of many guarantee types that I use and that I create AI prompts from. This is called the conditional guarantee. And a conditional guarantee means that the buyer takes one simple action to prove they're serious and doesn't feel like they got more than their money's worth, then they get 100% refund. In most instances, I find conditional guarantees more profitable and more empowering to customers than unconditional guarantees. But anyway, when creating the prompts, here's the good rule of thumb with all these prompts: is the clearer the instructions that you offer it, the better the AI's result. So I spend a lot of time really clarifying exactly and precisely what I want, so the AI can't go out and hallucinate or do something stupid, okay? And then we want to finish it off with a clear instruction of what you want the final output to be, so it doesn't screw that up. And so that very, very simple, very short prompt looks like this. Comes up with a name for it: the Action Taker's Guarantee. I didn't come up with that, the AI did. Here's how it works. If you send out just 3 cold emails using our script within the first 14 days and you still don't feel like you got your money's worth, just let us know and we'll return every penny. No hassle, no hard feelings. We're confident the systems works. But if you show us you took action and still didn't get the value, we don't want you money. You win either way. This is flatland language presented as effectively as possible and with a prompt that wrote this in about 12 seconds, maybe even less. Okay. And this is just one of the many guarantee prompts that I've developed when I craft and create webinars. And then the last part of the offer section is the scarcity. The value of the scarcity section is this: maybes kill more fortunes than no ever will. People get stuck in the maybe. And scarcity increases demand more than any factor to move somebody from maybe into yes. So scarcity is actually the most persuasive force that exists. And this is why this prompt is so important. And here's what it looks like. First, you want to define the type of scarcity you're going to use. There's only 4 types of scarcity that I've discovered. So I've programmed that into the prompt. And if you don't know what scarcity to use, the prompt will help you come up with the best type of scarcity to use. The next thing you always want to do when you use scarcity is give a powerful reason why the scarcity exists. I used to teach this for years. People would screw it up. Now the AI just comes up with the reason why for you, and it's super powerful, okay? Then after that, you have to make the scarcity believable. So people can actually believe you when you say it's scarce. The more believable you can make it, the more conversions you have. So we program the AI to create the believability for you. And then utilizing language, the language of scarcity. Scarcity has its own language. You can learn it. I did. It took me years. Or you can use this prompt, and it will program the language of scarcity in your script for you. And then set a deadline and the consequences for missing it. What happens if they miss the deadline? And then this will help you best communicate the scarcity. And then the final script, have it put it all together. Here's a little pro tip for you when you're using AI prompting. Have it do sanity checks to make sure it's all congruent and makes sense with the rest of your webinars I've done here. This is an example output. So create a slide that says delete from the recording. And then the script goes as follows. You may wonder why I just paused for a few seconds, put on the screen a slide that says delete from the recording. That's because what I'm about to say next will be removed from the replay and it will never be seen again. I had to pause in place and put a visual there so I would know that to cut this on. You get it, right? Isn't this freaking insane how good this is? How it sets the stakes, how it uses drama, how it sets up the bonus, how it uses scarcity in the most compelling, effective way possible, as you can see right here, how it closes it down right here, and how it makes the call to action right here, how it tells them specifically what to do, where to go, what happens if they don't act soon enough, and all this is with a prompt that it takes a few minutes to deploy. And now you have a superpower at your fingertips. And scarcity is the most powerful conversion lever ever. And it's the easiest one to mess up if you don't do it right. Now you have the easiest and best way to utilize scarcity. And that's how you make an offer. Now, question to you, should we stop there? Or should we just build out the whole rest of the webinar with prompts? Let's just build out the rest of the webinar with prompts. So we've done the offer. Not only have we created the offer, we've scripted the offer at the same time. That's insane. Now let's just start building out and writing the rest of the webinar. So a webinar has to start with a hook. One of the best hooks ever is one I invented called a pop quiz. So you start the webinar off asking them a series of true-false questions to create interactivity with the audience and to create demand for your product you're going to make at the end and to already start eliminating objections. That's how powerful this hook is. And it's incredibly difficult to come up with on your own, even if I trained you on it. And it's incredibly, insanely easy if you use this prompt. We call it the pop quiz prompt. The first thing you do is define the role, as we've always done. You provide the context, as we've always done. And here's what's really smart. You ask for examples so you don't have to come up with them on your own. The great thing about having the AI give you examples is you don't really have to do any thinking. You just do choosing. Instead, you just pick from the 3 or 5 best examples that they give you. And the real game changer is when you give the AI an exact fill-in-the-blank script to follow. Because when you know a certain script works really good, you don't want AI writing the script for you, because AI will not write as good a script as Jason Fladlin can. So utilize my script instead. And then to make your life even easier, you can have the AI tell you how to deliver it, what the pacing and the tone is, and things you can do. So not only are you reading the script, it will even tell you the best way to read the script. And it can look like this. Here's an example output. All right, everyone, before we dive into today's training, we're going to start this off with a quick pop quiz. I want you to type T for true or F for false in the chat for each statement. And some of these questions might completely surprise you. Are you ready? Let's go. Question number 1, true or false? If your MRI shows disc degeneration, herniation, or arthritis, That's what's causing your pain. And the answer is false. Here's what's crazy. Studies show that up to 60% of people with zero pain have disc bulges on their MRIs, and 90% of people over 60 show arthritis with no symptoms at all. Your scan results are often just expensive pictures of normal ages, not pain sentences. The real question is, if structure isn't the problem, what is? Hold that thought. Question number 2. Boom. And then it pops in, and it does the same thing. And it does this for 5 questions. And then it transitions to the pain section because it's taught. Once you hook them in with a pop quiz, next move into the pain section. Isn't this insane? How powerful is this? Now we know exactly how to start a webinar really in seconds from some very really powerful but simple to use AI prompting. And what used to take hours to write out now takes about 2 minutes. Isn't that amazing? And there you go. That's the first few minutes of your webinar done just like that with AI. Now, after we hook people in, we go into pain. And this is a pain section of a webinar that has made me multiple 7 figures. And so I thought, hey, it makes sense to build an AI prompt out of a proven section of a webinar like this. So again, we got to remember, we always start every prompt with context. In this case, I flat out tell the AI, you're going to create a section that helps your audience feel seen, understood, and slightly unsettled in their current situation, and also build anticipation to an offer you'll make a long time in the future later down the road on the webinar. And we also always create flexibility inside of it so the AI can fit it, not so overly to a very specific script, but within that script, add the right language, add the right variation, and so forth. And then we define the role for the AI. So in this case, you specialize in turning vague pain points into vivid, relatable narratives that make audience say, this person gets me, okay? And remember, don't rely on AI's short memory. Make sure it always asks you all of the necessary information it needs to complete the prompt. Don't have it remember things from the past. And now to make it easier, you want to put variables in there. So here's their current situation. Here's their dream outcome. Here's a pain point. Here's the normal problem. Here's the dream result. So you have these different variables that it can plug into, and then have the AI give you examples on what these different things could be based on the audience that you're serving. The less thinking you have to do on your own, the easier it is. I find it really good when I mix pain and pleasure together, as you can see right here in this template. And then once you have a webinar script that works, like I showed you earlier, there's no point in changing it. So look at this webinar script right here. I put the variables in place. It's all proven. And then I've had it give me many different examples to really dimensionalize the pain, because then it makes it more powerful in your webinars. I've even put in nonverbal communication cues when it outputs the script. Now, here's a little extra special tactic for you. If you already have a buyer profile prompt, then you could say, use my buyer profile prompt to write this section in my webinar. And so I'm now creating pain sections and gain sections in seconds without even doing any input, just by using the buyer profile and adding it in to the prompt that you just saw right here. But here's an example of what this could look like, right? It says, hey, Jorge here, and I've got a bone to pick. Unless your dog already walks perfectly by your side, even with distractions, chances are relying only on positive enforcement has made it harder than ever to finally enjoy stress-free walks. Even if by some small miracle your dog seems to listen one day, then they often get worse than ever the next day. Hopefully it's clear by now you need more than treats. You need a dog that walks so calmly and confidently by your side that you actually get compliments from strangers. So what are you doing? You're watching a dozen YouTube videos, trying to piece together random tips, trying to train your dog on your own. That's smart, but risky. And then it goes on. And all of this is created from a prompt in seconds. So a proven webinar opener that's taken me more than a decade to perfect for pain, given to you on a silver platter in no more than 5 minutes. Are you beginning to see why I'm so giddy about these AI prompts and how effective they can be in your business? Then we go on to the gain section. So we hooked them, we brought up their pain. Now we're going to show them what life can be like once they get the desired outcome. And the webinar right here that you can see helped me sell millions of an Amazon training way back in the day. And it's still the same script I use to this very day for my client webinars. The only difference is I don't have to write it manually out from scratch anymore. I just use this AI prompt. So again, as we know, context plus role plus script equals money. You should create lots of AI prompts with that formula: context, role, and script, as you can see here. we like to give it relevant suggestions based upon the topic. So when I'm going down this topic, give me suggestions related specifically to it. Or you can just upload a buyer profile. You can either answer these questions or you can just have your buyer profile locked in and then have this script that you have it built off of, because it's a proven 7-figure script that I spent hours testing and writing initially. And then I also put in this little thing for you here. If you do this, what you see highlighted here will increase the retention on your webinar by an insane amount. So you just promise a free gift if they stay till the end, and the prompt will help you come up with that free gift. It will name it for you. It can even create it for you utilizing AI. And there's an example output. Looks like this. Goes questions on your 9. Now, when it comes to dating, and especially going from nice guy to the kind of men that women actually want, here are the questions that should be on your mind. How easy is it to shift your vibe and finally start landing dates with women you're actually excited about? What's the best way to build real confidence without faking it or memorizing pickup lines? What should you realistically expect if you use the magnetic man blueprint? How can you quickly go from stuck in, and so on and so forth? And so you lay that down and you say, it gets better. Now, how would you like to become more confident? And da 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 da. And then it goes like this. Just consider this. If only one of these things happen, if only this happens, or that happens, or this happens, or this happened, how valuable could that be to you? And then it introduces the giveaway. It says, now because what we're covering today is so important to your confidence, your connection, and your future relationship, I asked myself, what can I give you to make sure this hits home? And here's what I came up with. At the end of this webinar, I'm giving you 3 moves that make her chase you without you trying, a mini training that walks you through exactly how to shift the dynamic and flip the script, and it's yours completely free. And the AI created this whole entire script for me in less than 2 minutes. That's pretty freaking good, isn't it? It's because we combined AI with proprietary Fladlin Go webinar knowledge. That's the secret. Then the next step is positioning. This is my favorite webinar positioning section I ever wrote. Wrote it for a client. This generated multiple 7 figures in sales. And now I took it and then I built an AI prompt around it. Would you like to see it? Here's what it looks like. The script walks you step by step with questions and examples so it can pull out specific things related to you to create the version of you that fits perfectly as it relates to your niche. And it does it in a way that doesn't make you sound braggy or arrogant. And it utilizes powerful techniques to really solidify and position you to be able to help the audience. And it's done through a compelling stair-step progressive approach where we start with your small wins and then we add the next thing on and the next thing on and the next thing on to create the drama. And then also we allow it freedom within structure because we can't just stick hardcore to a script. We got to make it flexible enough so it sounds natural and it is personal to you when you speak it. And then this is all achieved through guided interactive questions that the AI will ask you. Here's what it could look like. Here's an example output. My name is Sebastian Valdez, and I'm not a famous influencer. I'm just a small-town French guy who figured out how to help people over the age of 50 crush it on social media. What I discovered is that people over the 50 age range are actually better at building a certain specific valuable type of connection online if they're showing how, and then it goes on, and then it goes on, just like this. Now you're positioning yourself like a star in seconds with a prompt. No more worrying how you're going to come across without bragging or sounding like an a-hole. No more wasting time trying to figure out the best way to position yourself as an authority. You just plug it in, the prompt, ask a few questions, and boom, killer positioning in seconds. This is game-changing, isn't it? Now we go on to the next section of the webinar, which is the content portion. So we've introduced you, we've hooked them, we've pained, we've gained, we've positioned, now we paradigm. Now, the paradigm is so powerful and so misunderstood. The one that I created is based on a 7-figure webinar that I wrote 16 years ago, and it still runs to this very day. This prompt right here creates transformation in your audience. It transforms your audience into your ideal buyer, and then you just got to put the product in front of them. It uses a psychological principle that once I discovered it, it made me the most effective webinar presenter on the planet, and that's baked right into the prompt. And then we take this concept and turn it into a step-by-step process that the AI will guide you through inside of a framework of a script that took me years to perfect. and also allows you to easily adjust it based on your personal preference and your audience while still crushing it. And the paradigm shift is now created, which is insane because the paradigm shift is arguably the most important piece of the webinar puzzle. And unfortunately, it was the hardest piece for most people to solve. At least it was the hardest until this AI stuff, especially with my prompt, came into the picture. Then we get into the mechanisms. And the mechanisms are essentially the few things that make all the difference when it comes to whatever you're teaching, whatever you're showing the audience. So in this case, when I was selling this product, I said it comes down to these three things in which you will be successful, as you can see on the screen right here on the left and on the right. So it's the vital few things that the audience needs to understand in order to get the biggest change. This is hard if you're doing it manually. This is easy if you're using this prompt. So this prompt you have in here has the biggest secret I've ever learned in all of my years of training, which is this. There's only two ways you can show anything. You either show it in a step-by-step process or you show it in a series of criterias. Here are the few things that matter the most. You don't need to know this. It's already in the prompt for you. It can also then take anything you instruct it to and it can turn it into a framework, because frameworks are the most powerful things you could ever use to give your audiences insights. And this is just, I put it in the prompt for you, okay? It will uncover for you the best framework to put your webinar content in, and then it'll make it easier for you than ever to create that content, because success on webinars is not doing more, it's doing less. Focusing on less, not more, just the right less. That's always hard to figure out. Now the prompt figures it out for you, and it can even come up with names. Because when you create a framework, you want to name the elements in the framework, and then it makes them memorable, it makes it exciting, it makes your audience understand them better and be more thrilled to want to put them in action, and therefore they were more likely to buy your product, right? And now there's some extra magic dust that I sprinkled in here, because one of the things that I discovered playing with these prompts is sometimes it will get lost if you give it a role. So I found out you can give it a role inside of a role. So I've created this prompt. So the role is give this to a webinar presenter that Jason Fladlin has trained, so then they can communicate their thing to an audience that they're reaching. And that one took me a while to uncover that one. And now I just give it to you with my blessings. And here's what it is. And this is an example output of using the prompt that I just showed you. So the 4-step process to launch your first digital course in under 30 days. Step 1, pick a profitable topic, and then it gives a little sentence there. Step 2, pre-sell before you build. Step 3, deliver just enough to win. Step 4, build it with a template. I came up with none of that. The AI came up with that, and I looked at that and said, holy cow, if I created a webinar with these 4 steps, it would just absolutely smash it. Remember how long it used to take you trying to come up with what you're going to teach on the webinar, what you're going to focus on in the content section? Not anymore. You're going to be super fast. It's going to be better. And that's what happens when you're using the right AI prompting. Now, there's another little secret about content on webinars that most people screw up. I've been doing this throughout this whole entire webinar. If you haven't noticed yet, I've been doing demonstrations in front of your very eyes. And this is one of the big secrets of why webinars for myself and my clients just absolutely smash it. So the value of the demonstration section is people don't really remember what you say. They do remember how they felt. And people don't remember what they're told, but they do remember what they're showed. And it's hard to teach show, not tell. It's hard to teach demonstrations that are transformative, but it's easy once you know how to have the AI do it for you. You just have to use this prompt right here. So if you look at this prompt right there on your screen, it's going to guide you through a process to show in action these profound insights that your audience needs in order to buy the products that you sell. Just right there, just laid out for you, right? And it will also allow your audience to feel themselves winning along the way. In their mind, they can see themselves progressing and securing wins in the near future, which leads them more likely to buy later on when you make the offer. And it also maps out the different demonstrations to use throughout the content of your webinar. And then because I'm Fladlin, I also had it sprinkle in hypnotic language patterns that I spent years by studying the world's top hypnotists in order to learn, and now I can just feed them in to this AI prompt that you can use automatically. And then I also use another advanced technique here in this prompt that you can now leverage without even knowing how to use it, called anchoring. I learned this in neurolinguistic programming, studying for hours and hours and hours that. And now when we anchor, we can lock in these heightened emotional states in the audience that make them most likely to buy. Here's what this can look like. Here's a demonstration. It goes like this. I go, I want you to try something with me right now that might feel a little different from what you're used to. This one small piece of the brain rewiring system I mentioned, it only takes 90 seconds. First, I'd like you to close your eyes if you're in a safe place to do so. If not, just soften your gaze. Now take a deep breath in through your nose and slowly exhale through your mouth. Good. I want you to think about money for a moment. Notice what happens in your body. Is there tension, heaviness, a sinking feeling? Don't judge it, just notice it. This is your current neural wiring at work. Now, I want you to imagine meeting your wealthy self. The version of you who has already achieved financial freedom. Don't worry about the details of how you got there. Just see this version of yourself standing confidently before you. Notice how this version of you stands, how they breathe, the expression on their face. They've mastered the relationship with money and opportunity. Their brain is wired differently than yours is now. And then it goes on, and then it goes on, and all of this was all created in seconds. And it shifts the identity of the audience from one who couldn't do something before to one who must now do it. And they will buy your product in order to achieve that goal. Now remember, I didn't write that. AI wrote that. Maybe we're closer to artificial general intelligence than we thought, right? I don't know. But we can use demonstrations throughout. That's only one of a variety of kind of demonstrations that we can do. And then the last thing we have to do in our webinar is transition from content to offer. This one's only 3 things that you have to do, the easiest of all from an AI perspective. The first thing is you have to recap. So what you do is recap when you start to transition to the offer, all the cool stuff you've taught up into that point. And so let's utilize another 7-figure webinar that I did manually in the past, and let's turn that into an AI prompt. So we'll take this right here and build a recap prompt. All you do right now is take everything else that AI has written for you up to this point for your webinar, and you dump it into this prompt. You can copy and paste it. You can take it, put it in, and save it as a text file or a PDF, however you want to. You just put it in to this prompt right here, and it will create something like this. It'll say, so far on this webinar today, you discover that you don't need a big audience, paid ads, or risky upfront investments to start making real money online, just a smarter model. I also walked you through the Amazon trust instructions and customer base before base become your shortcut to earning potential most people never tap into. You saw how using, sorry, I'm going to read it on this screen because it's a little bit bigger. You saw how used fairy lights led to $3,147 in passive monthly profit, and how the same opportunity is hidden inside thousands of products. You felt the shift when I showed you. It's not about finding perfect products. It's about finding overlooked winners that already sell themselves. We cracked the code on how to legally and ethically tap into existing brand power. You learn the secret to remove, and you get the rest of it, right? So what this does is it extracts the coolest stuff that you showed in the webinar thus far. It writes it automatically for you in seconds, just like this, recapping it with certain language that makes people feel like they've accomplished something effectively that empowers them to then be in the best state of mind to purchase when you go into the offer. And what I just did there is 45 minutes of thick webinar content summarized beautifully in less than a minute with that prompt. Doesn't the old way of writing webinars feel almost silly, like using a horse and buggy after the car's been invented? So that's the first part. You recap all the awesomeness. I used to do that manually. It used to take me a lot of time and effort and skill. Now we do it in seconds, and then we do tie downs next. Tie downs look like this. This is a webinar, another one that I did that led to millions of dollars in sales. You ask a series of yes questions, and this prompt helps develop that for you. It uses what I call yes momentum, because when people start saying yes, they tend to keep saying yes. And what we want to do is create different ways that they can say yes. And in seconds, here's what this looks like. Hasn't it been eye-opening to realize that you don't need to be a guru to create something valuable? And can you feel the shift knowing that a simple $10 problem you already solved could unlock massive opportunity? And wouldn't you agree that the excuses that used to feel so real now seem a little more ridiculous after seeing what's possible? And isn't it exciting to know? And this is an actual script from a webinar that was produced with this AI prompt that helped set that record that I showed you early of over $10 million in sales. Just like that. and I didn't have to write it anymore. The AI came up with it for me. And isn't it exciting to know that you don't have to be an expert in NLP like I am to boost your audience emotional buy-ins with tie downs? You just need to hit copy and paste and let the AI do it for you in seconds. And then the final thing is choices. And this one we don't even need AI for because it's just a script. What this does is it frames the offer for what it really is, a wonderful option that otherwise wouldn't exist, and it gets the audience excited for you to sell them the solution. Bob Proctor, the late great Bob Proctor, genius that he is, he knew the power of the two choices close because he used my script. Alex Hormozy, when he did his last book launch, used this exact script word for word. When he crushed it, they both got it directly from me. Here is the script. It looks like this. I have complete confidence left to your own devices. You can take everything we covered here today and go it on your own and get results with it. And if that was the only option, it would be a worthy ideal to pursue. Yeah, what if there was an option, another option, one that allowed us to go at this together? What if I played an active role in your results and had a responsibility for your success? Do you think in that situation I could empower you with every resource I have to stack the deck in your favor? And if I had such an option for you, would you love to hear more about it? That's why it's with great pleasure that I introduce to you, and then you insert the product name right there. And of course, the AI can spit this out for you, and it can even customize it for you. Now, all the prompts that I've shown you so far are great. And I have complete confidence, left to your own devices, that you could take these prompts, go out on your own, and get insane results with them. And if that were your only option, it would be a worthy ideal to pursue. Yeah, what if there was an option, another option, one that allowed us to go at this together? What if I played an active role in your results and had a responsibility for your success? Do you think in that situation I could empower you with every resource that I have to stack the deck in your favor? And if I had such an option for you, would you love to hear more about it? And that's why it's with great pleasure that I introduce to you Webinar Mastery Academy. This is what Anik and I have been cooking up for you, and I'm so excited to be able to share it with you.